Welcome back, everybody. I'm Matt Hernandez, and today we're going to talk about the PMI Smoke Ninja. Okay, so full disclosure, they sent me this. They're not paying me to do a review or anything, so they don't really have any control over what I'm going to say. They just sent it to me and asked me if I'd do a video on it. So here we go. First off, this thing is really small and portable, which is cool. I've got a fog machine. I have a haze machine that you've probably seen me use before. They're both decent size. The fog machine's bigger. There's a handle that you can carry it around, but it's still kind of cumbersome. This, as long as it works, looks like it would be really handy. Now, the only question I'm going to have is the output going to be high enough? So let's take a look at what it comes with and what it does. Okay, so here's the little pouch it comes in, which is pretty nice. All right, so here's extra fluid. There's a remote, which just has one button on it. But that looks like that would obviously be pretty handy, especially if you don't have an assistant. This little cap's on it right now to keep it closed up when you're not using it. This slides on, so you can take this part off and then attach this to the inside, and it will be a magnet, so you can stick it to something that will allow it to be magnetized to it. And then this has a thread on it, so you could thread it onto, I guess, possibly a light stand or something like that. It looks like it looks a little small for a light stand. I don't know what you would use. There's two little holes too, so I guess you could maybe attach it some other way. You probably wouldn't want to use zip ties because they'd be hard to get off. But anyway, so you got a couple attachments here that you can use it to attach it to something. Stick those back in there. All right, what do we have in here? We've got a couple little baggies. That's a USB cord, looks like, and another cap. Yep. And so you got a spare cap in case you lose that. And then this one, little diffuser for the nozzle, and then so it's got a long tube and a short tube. That's for the dry ice mode, and then a curved tube. So let's take this off. Okay, so this goes here. And then you can put the long or the short tube. And then we've got the diffuser for the dry ice. Okay, so let's test this out. All right, so to turn it on, you're gonna press, so it's got a power button and it's got fog, dry ice, and steam. All right, and then this is the button that you press to release the fog. All right, so you press it 3 times. Okay, so now it's on, so let's hit fog first, see what that looks like. Oh, that's the wrong button. Probably help if I press the right one. It's a pretty good amount of fog. That looks pretty good. I'm impressed. I did not think, honestly, that it would come out that strong. All right, let's try steam next, because, so these have different colors. So the fog is white, steam is orange. Let's try that next. So that's going to be similar, but not as thick. So that looks like that might be, like if you want to create just atmosphere in the room, kind of more spread out. All right, now let's hit dry ice. So that one's blue. Let's turn this down. Put this diffuser on. Let's see what this looks like. This is the one I'm excited about the most. That's pretty cool, how it just kind of falls out down on the table. Yeah, that's neat. So it's just kind of sticking to the table. Now there's some going up in the air too, but that's really cool how it's just floating, which is what dry ice does. That amazes me that that works like that well. So that's something that I feel like would be really good for product photography probably. The other two could be used for product photography or for portraits, I would say. And I guess this could be used for portraits too, but I think of smaller things when I think. Now, if you had a couple of these, that might be kind of neat to get more of that effect, because it's a little bit of a small area. I could see the fog and the steam being used like in front of lights, backlights or something like that, like pro light mods maybe. That I don't see any reason why those wouldn't work. That's probably what I'll try to do with them. This maybe products more, but In any event, I think I think it's really cool either way. So if you press the button again, it's going to light it up so you know which mode you're on. Press it a second time. So once it's going to be dim, second it's going to be brighter, and then it's going to be off. So the advantage is to let you know what mode you're in, obviously, but it will run the battery down faster. So, and I know that these things also don't overheat. So they're supposed to run for 60 seconds, I believe, and then they'll shut off for however long. I don't think it's very long. It might be like another minute, like 30 seconds or a minute. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I know it's not very long. And then it'll run again. So okay, so it says that 15 minutes at max output. Okay, so if you run this as hard as it can go, basically, you would get 15 straight minutes of it. It takes an hour and a half to charge for a full charge. So the status, so when you hit the button, this light pops up, and then when you hold it down to run it, it's going to go down the longer you hold it. So it goes for 60 seconds with fog, 30 seconds for dry ice, and 120 for steam. And the longer you hold it, the more that's going to go down, and then it will shut down and allow it to refresh so you can run it again. So that's how long you get with each one. Okay, so it looks like it's going to work great. We've got a few shoots lined up, and I tried to, these aren't like actual paid shoots, but they're shoots that I would get paid for, that type of shoots anyway. So except for the first one, which is I'm going to shoot my son's Star Wars Hasbro characters for the dry ice, just because I think that would be really cool to have Vader with dry ice underneath him fighting somebody. So that's the idea for the first one. And then we're going to do a portrait shoot for the other two. And we may incorporate some pro light mods or some kind of backlight so that we can take advantage of backlighting this fog and make it look really, really cool. So hopefully it's going to work out as good as it looks like, as good as I think it's going to. I think it should be pretty cool. So, so now we'll get to the shoots and see what we can get. All right, so that does it. As you can see by the 3 mini shoots that we put together using the Smoke Ninja, that they turned out pretty cool, and it worked very well, especially considering the size of it. I was very impressed, and I'm definitely gonna put it into my workflow with portraits, and because I do use fog and smoke quite a bit, so we're definitely gonna be able to utilize this moving forward. I'll probably get a second one. That is one recommendation. If you do think about purchasing this, I would recommend a second one, just because number one, it's always good to have a backup. But number two, if you have edge lights like I did in these videos, one works well, but if the smoke's blowing around at all, if there's any kind of air conditioning going, then it can move it. And it would be good to have like one in front of each strip bank beside or behind the subject, just to make sure you get more even fog or smoke. And you can fan it, but it would be a little bit easier, especially if you're by yourself, to be able to control them separately at the same time if you're doing a symmetrical shot like that. So yeah, other than that, I really didn't have any complaints. I will say that for some reason the dry ice didn't work exactly how it's supposed to at the beginning. It was kind of blowing out more like fog. It could have had something to do again with the air conditioning in here. I'm not really sure. I've seen other videos with that. Nobody else had that problem. After we used it a couple of times for a short period of time, it was fine. So I don't know if it just needed to be worn in or what, but it works fine now. So definitely I would recommend this 100% on all 3 modes. They're all great. I'll throw a link below so you can check it out. You don't want to think about purchasing it. So I realized that I didn't go into depth on any of the 3 of these shoots that we did in this video, but we are going to make lighting diagrams as well as light power, camera settings, all that kind of stuff available on Instagram. So if you want to head over there, it's just at Matthernandez. We're going to make that available for subscribers only, so you can check that out. And that does it. So if you enjoyed this, if you got anything out of it, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe to help the channel grow. And make sure you hit the bell so you get notified when we post new content. There's going to be a lot more to come. See you next time.